a lovely lady from Alberta, Proud, Danielle, she has actually talked to Trump. Probably part of the reason why oil was only taxed, threatened to be tariffed at 10%.
Guaranteed.
And what has she had to say about this recently, Adam? I think you were reading about this. Why don't you tell us what her opinion is on the matter? Is she waving a big stick and threatening the U.S.?
No, she's been pretty solid in her message of being a proponent of diplomacy and working with the U.S. to find the common goals and the common grounds. Because the fact is, with all this tariff nonsense and the insults being thrown around and everyone trying to prove they're the tough guy or whatever. The fact is, we get down to it and realize that in North America we have common goals. U.S., Canada, Mexico. We don't want drugs to kill our people. We're pretty much united in that, and I think that's sort of why we have this pause in these tariffs.
Yeah, I want to expand on that point that you're making, actually, Adam, because you and I were listening to her speak, Danielle Smith speak recently, and what was the media asking about the fentanyl situation and that? They're like, well, the media was basically saying, we're not as bad as Mexico down in the south. Our numbers are far less. You know what?
And why do you think Mexico got the pause first? Do you think it's because Canada promptly threw Mexico under the bus and said they're worse than us? Do you think that really helped us out? I think that was a terrible play for us. In what way? If there's more fentanyl coming from Mexico into the U.S. or there's less, coming from Canada, it doesn't matter. The point is that there's drugs coming into all three of our countries. They're circulating around, and people are dying and lives are being ruined. And that was the point that Danielle Smith was making. And when she was being interviewed, they just kept telling, she was being asked why she would not acknowledge that it was worse, coming over the Mexican border. And sure, maybe it is, but that isn't the point. We need to get rid of it everywhere. And I think that's more what she was focused on. And if we are to believe that this is one of Trump's major platforms, I think that it's not unreasonable for him to say, I don't care where there's more of it. I just want it all gone.
Yeah, I would like to say on that front, this is why I say don't worry about what the media is saying or doing, because they are always finding the most trumped up thing to say and work you into a frenzy. Like, just don't listen to them right away. Let things go by for a few hours. It was probably a better life before the 90s and CNN and hourly news, when you just sat down and heard a clear story at the end of the day rather than up to the minute basis. Because you know what? I had a conversation recently with a lady at work who was telling me how my life's going to be so expensive now because of the Trump tariffs. And I was like, do I sit here and explain this whole situation or whatnot? I basically said, well, they're stating that they're going to do it, but it hasn't yet been affected. But I heard a thing from Reuters stating Reuters that there would be a 30-day pause. And she's like, well, that's not what they're saying on the White House press secretary. And I said, I get it. One moment you have her saying something, and then the next you just get a news organization saying basically like, well, we're hearing this. And you know what? There has been a reprieve now for 30 days. So did some insider information from the politicians go to that specific organization and make them more factual than what has actually to what has actually occurred? I don't know. The point I'm making here is what you said. You get these newscasters that are obviously biased, and they start working up these emotional questions to get people worked up because you're going to get the views. Well, listen, I understand what it's like to want to get the views. I have a YouTube channel where I feel like that. But I'm not going to work everybody up into a panic. I'm trying to be more reasonable and just say, you know what, maybe I lean more right. Maybe I lean more left on this situation here. But let's have that common ground. Where's the Team Canada approach? And that's what we're getting from our lovely Danielle Smith, who's actually being a leader, saying, let's get diplomacy in here. Let's talk with that big bad orange man in the U.S. and come to some kind of resolution, I
think he's got a bit of a budding crush there. He keeps saying she's lovely.
She's beautiful. She's the most beautiful premier we have.